All right, yogis. So as a reminder, this class is not for challenge necessarily or building. It's more for that recovery from the building style exercises, right? So today's a little bit more self-care, a little bit more recovery, restorative, gentle, healing in nature. But as always, I love to see you add some things. If you are feeling good, you can always add building exercises to our sequence, but I will keep it relatively easy. I'll start you standing today, all right? Remember, a lot of people always are reminding us that functional exercise is on the feet. That's where you need all your strength and upright all day, all right? So as we start here, maybe take a moment to work your posture, stand up nice and tall, lift the crown of your head. Take a moment to roll the shoulders back and down. Notice if you're leaning forward or back, equal weight distribution through the feet. Notice if you're arching your back. So just a moment to bring more awareness to your posture. And then maybe take a few deep breaths in and out the nose. So as always, this initial objective is heightened self-awareness. So your attention initially aims at the body. And then you give more intention to your form. And then the attention might become more aware of the breath. And then you give more intention to your breathing. So yogis, I'm going to run through some dynamic, nice movements, right? Really wonderful for flexibility. Don't worry about going too far, right? Nice and slow. Feet are about hip width distance. On your inhale, reach your arms up. Nice and slow. Reach for the floor. Exhale. Couple ways to do this, yogis. Inhale, lift the chest. I'm going to keep you dynamic for now. You're welcome to hold a stretch. Nice standing back bend here. Nice slow hinge forward bend. Remember that slower tends to be safer, yogis, and bending the knees here tends to be a little bit easier on the body. Okay, so I'm going up and down a few times. If I'm feeling good, I could flow a little bit faster. If I'm feeling good, I could add things like arms behind my back, but you got time to go further. The Surya Kriya yogis. Deep breathing, inhale up, exhale down. We're looking at somewhere between 10 and even about 40 rounds of that, depending on your speed and how you're feeling. Try to close your eyes and feel the energy of the front body as you reach up and back, and as of the back body as you forward fold. Last moments here in first movement. Remember, I give you a general way to do an exercise and movement. I really like to see you guys putting your own personality based off what you're feeling in the moment, okay? Continuing into second movement, you know it, yogis. Nice kind of twisty movement. Remember, very easy. Someone with back pain might lean toward a little less range of motion, a little slower. I'm showing easier first here, and then as I get into it, I might even bend the knees, kind of sway my body side to side. I might even go up and down a little bit. I want you to really feel the core. Just watch out for things like your head going forward and down. Watch out for those traps lifting too high. What is my body doing without me noticing? Where am I stressed out in the body? That's not serving me, okay? You want a good 30 seconds, a minute there, right? Now remember, this is a little bit faster movement to still kind of make it easy, the Qigong shape. All right, so I just kind of like jump a little bit. It's barely jumping. You can see my wrists are kind of shaking out, even my shoulders. Keep breathing here. We're going to try to do this for about a good minute. No rush getting in there, okay? Some other options, yogis, a little easier is to kind of jog in place slightly. All right, another option could be things like jumping jacks. This is kind of like jump rope, what we're doing. Another option, guys, to move your feet a little bit, right? Just get moving a little bit, right? In a nice light way, really get that blood flowing. Remember that kind of blood flow is the main thing we always want to optimize internally. Anytime blood flow gets restricted via lack of movement or tightness, not good, right? It tends to increase pain and long-term be very bad for us. Let's keep going, guys. Fourth movement here, get those legs back wide again here. And look at this nice tilt. Now this is a big one. All right, a lot happening here. So make sure your feet are wide enough so you can nice and easily kind of tilt the pelvis to the side. All right, watch me take it to the next pelvic tilt. That's the first part. I bend my knees, I arch the back. So this is cat-cow, tuck the tailbone. Okay. See if you can do a standing cat-cow yogis. And then what I do is I'm basically taking those two linear actions, forward, back, side to side, and you know it, we put it together. I want you to really move that pelvis like a dance now. Okay, I'm starting to get more into it with suggestions of moving the core. We do this a lot on our Tuesday yoga core class, particularly on the knees, where you get that tension through the dynamic core, right? You know, maybe make this one a little bit easier, a little bit more stretchy. Really nice dynamic stretching, right? I'm going to continue, yogis, all right? I am going to give you one kind of active exercise here. You know, take it as you like it, no worries. Just one round of nice light squatting. Again, feet are about hips width distance. Some days, yogis, I squat with my feet very parallel, narrow. Some days I really widen the feet. I'm going to show you a few options there, right? Initially, you want to make it easier, probably, right? No reason to stress out the knees or the back. So I have my most comfortable position, slightly wider stance than my hips. My feet are like barely turned out, but they are strategically set up. Let's bend those knees, okay? If I want a little something different here, guys, I could widen the feet a little bit now, right? This is our sumo stance, and I could continue squatting here, maybe reaching the arms up on the inhale, exhale, kind of bending, reaching down, big arm circle. Take another good minute, any type of squatting. If you're feeling good, remember a nice substitute for squatting could be a high knee. You notice it's kind of the same position in the leg. That's a nice, easy style of squat and tight movement. You could also combine them where you squat and lift the knee. You could hold down in the squat and pulse. Last moments here, just giving you some suggestions to be creative, in the moment, and personal. Now, I want you to take your time. Let's get into our side body. Our first side body was kind of like here, right? Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. Remember, today's stretchy day. Legs are going to stay straight, either just inhaling right arm up and over, exhaling down. Again, I'm staying with dynamic yogis. You just add the stretch if you want to hold. If you want a little bit more, watch the legs. Right foot in front, right arm up. That's a big one, okay? Right foot neutral, right arm down. First position, Tadasana. Left arm across, left arm up, left leg across. And you just take 3, 4 more of those, maybe, you know, side to side. Maybe suggesting to hold your tighter side more, right? Stay focused, yogis, because we're gonna do we're gonna hold some nice stretches shortly, okay? Now take a moment. I'm gonna continue going into dynamics, but I'm gonna really isolate your arms. Watch the arms now. They are starting in front of me. They go wide, palms face forward. We do stretches like this all the time. And then we cross. open, opposite arm on top. So it's a nice dynamic kind of horizontal arm swing. It's a really nice shoulder opener. And then we have our rotational padding through our arms. I love this one because it covers the whole arm. Arms are going to eventually pause wide, right into the next one, right palm up to the back, left palm down to the back. I've often mentioned that I pretty much do this anytime I'm like working out my arms. I wake up that spiral line actively. So I'm alternating here, yogis, kind of pausing and then alternating. Pause, alternating, switch. Last few tries. You know, even when we're doing a lot of these great stretches, even in like a static rotation, it's not combined with this forearm pronation supination style. It's a really kind of unique arm movement. Good one to remember, yogis. Okay. Please take your time, shake it out. Last shoulder joint is the nice arm circle. A couple options, yogis, if you have a strap handy. Right, so arm circling is a nice, good place to start. A little slower and smaller, probably a little safer. But if you did have a strap, you could always grab it quickly and, you know, kind of do your big double circle floss here. A little bit more challenging, right? And we do stuff like this where you kind of turn the left arm up and over. Watch me here. The right arm kind of comes up, the left arm goes down, and it's this big circular motion with your arms. Just be easy. This is big, yogis. Usually teach this one in like a gentle. You know, you're doing a lot of planks, a lot of, you know, Thursday, yesterday, a lot of those inversions, a lot of shoulder work. So after all that, we can really move that shoulder to build up, you know, reduce any adhesion building up around the joint, restricting movement. All right, but doing this on weak shoulders maybe not recommended. All right, let's continue, yogis. Almost done with standing. If you need a little bit more moments there, no rush. I'll do the scapula on the ground, but if you need a little neutralizer, lift the shoulders up and down. Maybe shake the arms out a little bit. Last thing for the upper body here is a light neck circle. So I'm just nice and slow, yogis, kind of moving the neck more than normal. Kind of in a way I normally do not, right? And as I'm going through this, I notice my back right neck is kind of tight. So I might kind of pause, bring my neck, my head down to the left to stretch that part of me, right? Depending on where your tightness is, maybe you add a little stretch. It's neck time here. I like to suggest getting into a stretch, even like moving the jaw, even like kind of lightly doing a cat-cow type movement, chin tuck, chin lift. Last moments here for your neck. So I would like to try leg swings today. So if you don't have a wall near you, maybe a chair, a bed, you can really do it freestanding, yogis. It will be much more challenging to release. We don't get to do this a lot in yoga, and it's really amazing. If those legs are feeling tight, again, the idea of kind of swinging, freeing up the joint. I'm going to start demoing here now. If you want, you could always step on a block just to have a little extra lift. Just don't, you know, the block could be unstable, obviously. That's, you know, don't fall here. This is part of our stretching here, yogis. Think strap stretching with the cobra. My left foot's on the block. I bend the left knee. I'm just bracing myself against the wall. So I'm just trying to swing that leg forward and back. I am kind of having a little core integrity, okay? I can do the arm too, if your arm does need more movement, right? Just loosen that up. Okay, and I'm gonna break it down here to the three parts. second leg, right, is just stepping on the block with the right foot, forward and back. Leg swing, yogis, just bend the knee, see if you can let it swing. Again, I'm taking the therapeutic approach. You know, strengthening would be here, hold. Now I'm doing it free floating, right? No, I'm not holding anything. A little more challenging it if you want. So remember, we have the, you know, the 3 planes of movement in the hip, forward, back, and then we have side to side. Let me show you here. I'm gonna have to turn my back to you guys. My first leg goes on my first foot goes on, and I swing the leg side to side. It's kind of like strap stretching, yogis. The toe turns up and open, the toe turns across and up. See that one? Externally rotate, internally rotate, because we can take care of both planes here. I'm kind of opening the hips to the right, opening, closing the hips to the left. So my bottom leg is also rotating. Try to swing it. Just like strap stretching, right? The toes are up and out, and then the toes go across. Let's do the second leg. Leg swing, please. We're doing pretty good, yogis. We've done spinal forward and back, side to side and twist. We've done the circling. We're doing really well on the shoulders and the hips and the neck. So yogis, we are here kind of in the end of standing yoga today. A couple options as you're finishing up your leg swing. I like to suggest a little calf raising. You know, it's active, but it stretches the front of your ankle, right? So remember, anytime we're doing the light contraction, it is a stretch for like your opposite muscle group. It's called reciprocal inhibition. And that's why I tend to say yogis stretch too much. And even when we're doing like a plank, the back body is very soft and not being used by most people. Another option here, yogis, could be lift the heels and like take some steps, trying to activate the toes much more than normal. Very important to learn to activate those toes, particularly the big toe, so the posterior line to the glute really starts to fire well. Okay, so I don't take time for this as much in the stronger classes. If you want to take it to a stretch, it's basically for the opposite line, the calf. This is a nice one, yogis, where I have my block. This is a big one, actually, right? If a block's too much, roll up a blanket, use a bolster, something to create a little less of an angle in the foot. I'm on the block. I could do both feet at once too. If I want a lot, I can go forward. Just be aware, yogis. If I straighten my right knee, it stretches the upper big calf muscle called your gastroc. If I bend the knee more, the stretch starts to go to a different muscle called your soleus, really low around almost the ankle, the foot, the Achilles tendon. So it is good to do both. You can't see my knee is now bent, maybe in the straight. So I am switching there. Last parts here with the ankle and the foot. A lot of times we will kind of maybe forget the difference between the two there. It's important to remember in your strengthening also, we bend the knee to strengthen a certain part of our calf. We straighten the leg a little more to strengthen the higher calf. But again, it's not the same for everyone always. You're finishing up your attention to your ankle and foot. You can see what I'm doing to kind of counter. I'm turning the top of the toes down, and I'm actually pushing them into the floor a little bit. It can be a little uncomfortable, yogis, but you know, important not to only stretch the top of the foot ankle, but even like the top of the toes. What you see a lot when you're doing body work on people is the toes almost get stuck like flex, like up, or excuse me, extended there, right? The toes, the top of the foot gets very tight. really nice to stretch out the top of the foot through the toe by rounding the toe under. Okay. Now I'm not going to do balance today, yogis. Holding a pose. We've been doing a lot of very active exercise this week. I am going to start to make our way back down to the ground. Anything else you want to do, feel free. How do you want to make your way down? Maybe a nice little reach your toes, like our first exercise, maybe holding. Another nice one could be like a yogi squat or stepping back and taking a child pose. Take a moment for, a nice kind of feel good comfort zone stretch. And we just kind of hit your hips a little bit and your calves. And now I'd like to take it. We went legs into feet into our scapular floss I mentioned. This is a particularly difficult action to do. Not difficult as far as strenuous, but just to find this movement. Remember, it's not a shoulder action, yogis. It's scapula. So I'm going to meet you in tabletop. Feel free to take any nice movements here that while I'm demoing. You drop the chest between the arms, but notice my arms really don't bend, right? And then I spread the back. So I'm going to drop down and lift. So this is the movement. So if you see my head, it's moving up and down because my whole spine is dropping between my arms and then lifting higher. So another way to see it, guys, is this. So you can see my spine's not actually moving. It's the whole kind of shoulder girdle sliding my shoulder blades back. One way we have you do this a lot is this, right? And then when you hold plank, you have to spread and lift the upper back. So those are the two parts. Now you floss between. This is important, yogis, that you can avoid. If you learn your scapular, if you free up the scapula, and then you also strengthen it, you won't ever have those kind of knots. And you'll significantly reduce chronic tension here between your shoulder blade, your spine, much less. The trap is a scapular mover, right? This one here. This is big, yogis. All right. Now I'm going to keep you moving. Since we're in the arm, I'm just going to do a quick wrist stretch here. Back of the hand goes down. No rush if you're still enjoying the floss. I'm moving down the arm one more time here. I'm going to do the palm face up. You're more than welcome to do the fingers kind of palm down facing the body. Take a moment, get into your wrists. If you want dynamic wrists, you could do your flexion extension, wrist rolling, wrist compressing. I find this stretch to be very useful because yogis are so often in like a hyper extended wrist. So we kind of hyper flex the wrist, stretch it out. All right. Let's switch sides, please, if you're ready. Another easier way to do this, yogi, is kind of sit back and just kind of grab the palm is face down. The right hand takes the back of the left hand and lengthens the top outer wrist. Remember, I try to suggest, I don't really stretch my wrist too much before I do a lot of planks and stuff. I'll do this and shake it out, and I'll quit dynamic. And it depends on the day, but it's just to open up the joint. It's not really to increase its flexibility too much before I strengthen. Again, it depends on the day. All right. I'm going to continue here, yogis. No rush if you're going there. Shake it out. Let's get a quick down dog in. And if you did want a little plank movement or anything like that, a little softer than normal, probably. The other easy option is child pose to cobra. Child pose to cobra. Kind of thinking big full body movements after we came from ankle, scapular, neck, wrist, a lot of little things. Now big movements again. Deep breathing with the eyes closed, feeling, flowing. So, yogis, basically I'm going to have you do 2 more movements, and it's kind of stretching the whole way out. So stay focused. The rest of class is really going to be holding stretches. Please feel free to add anything you need, right? Leg lifting. I'm going to take you down to the chest, yogis. And we're gonna do something a little different now. Hip rotation. We've done this before. You're gonna need a block. If you don't have a block, you can potentially use a foam roller or even a pillow can work here, a rolled up blanket. So Yogi, lay on the left side, open up, all right? Your legs come in front of you like you're in chair. So my hips are about 90 degree, knees about 90 degree. I put that block between the knees. Now, the action is more of the top leg internally rotating, right? So you can see I'm gonna pad my head here, nice long spine. My feet are about hips width distance, and I'm gonna lift the outer edge of the right foot up and forward to create an internal rotation. It's not a very big movement, yogis. I'm now dynamically showing you. It's the top leg doing the effort. I have to reposition my block for more comfort. My knees went a little lower too. This is the action. We're isolating hip rotation. You know, in case you're doing this at a later time and you want to like pause the video, another way we do this, it is good to do both, is to lay on the chest, reach your right leg out. And it's the same idea, yogis. My knee and hip are about a 90-degree angle, except now my thighs aren't squeezing the block, my thighs wide. And then I do that same action at the hip. It's an internal rotation of the right hip. So those are basically, you know, very, very similar. But if you always do it one way, it's good to kind of switch there. Okay. And you might feel a little burn, right? Sometimes I like to go up and hold, go down about halfway and hold and go up. And then basically, yogis, what we do is just roll on the second side. Since it's restorative yoga, we'll just do one round. Basically, if you need another visual, you're kind of like this, laying on your right side. Your left foot is going like this. So it's not a femur abduction. It's a rotation happening in the hip joint. It's a little tricky, a little weird to find, right? So our last movement here, yogis, you know, it is for the hips. It's the opposite side of the coin that you just did. Some of these are still going, but I'll just demo so you can get right into it. So what you do, yogis, is you roll back onto your first side. Now, instead of having the knees stacked with the block between and the target being the top leg, the target is now the bottom leg. So I'm going to remove the block. I'll just throw it under my head. My right leg is reaching kind of just neutral straight down the mat. That actually feels good here too, right? Nice little hip stretch. Now, instead of internally rotating, we're going to externally rotate, right? So you just did this hip. This was actually like the second side, right? Watch what I do. I don't lift the whole leg. I keep my left thigh down and I externally rotate the hip, which will lift my left foot higher than my left knee in a rotational pattern. So I drop it down an inch, I lift it. Drop it down an inch, I lift it. You know, doesn't have to be a big movement, yogis, for it to be good for you. Okay, so I'm trying to externally rotate. Again, there's kind of better ways to do this. But I'll beat on the mat. This is a really simple way to do it. This is pigeon, right? I'm going from like a knee into a chest to that shin coming toward the chest. Okay, you're gonna do what? Maybe 10 or 20 reps till you feel some of that. You feel what we're trying to experience, and then you're gonna switch sides. So just in case you have trouble seeing what's happening, pretend I was laying on my side. You were starting here and you were just going there. Right? Hip therapy, yogis. Last side, you're stretching after this. Try to feel it. Close your eyes. One hip might be a lot better at the action. Everyone feeling that pretty good? That is really good stuff, yogis. We really should be doing that a lot more. And what's really nice is you put a little ankle weight on. And it's gonna, man, it's strengthening the rotational qualities of the hips. It is really good, really unique, you know. All right, guys, I'm gonna meet you laying on the chest for our first big stretch here. The Sphinx. If you want to go to Cobra, you can, but I'm going to take the Sphinx because I'm going to add that knee flexion, lengthen the line longer. Take a couple breaths in the Sphinx, lengthen the core, lift that heart. No rush, keep getting here. My feet are about hip width distance, yogis, right? And if I want a little extra, I could either dynamically bend the knee. Like say you just had a knee injury and the muscles are weak. You don't really want to like grab the foot and pull it. You want to maybe just go like this, slow. You're feeling good. Turn your left forearm in and reach back. Just don't turn too much. Keep the right shoulder forward. Push the hips down. Squeeze the heel to the butt. Take a breath there. Switching sides. Right forearm turns in a little bit. Left knee bends. Maybe a little dynamic. Left hand pulls, left heel to the left hip. Please take your time, yogis. Big inhale, nice long Sphinx hold there. We'll lower down. Quick child pose if you need. But I'll suggest a different forward bend. The straddle. So I'm just gonna kind of pop you around here, yogis, covering some ground, turning open maybe to the side, hitting those legs nice and wide here. Now some options, yogis, nice and simple. We might just kind of go down the middle. Kind of hold a little bit longer, be a little more still and breathe. Depending on how you're feeling today, right? You might kind of crawl your hands over to a side. Just to distinguish the difference. Right now, yogis, I am turning kind of down to the right. There's a different version where I turn up to the left and I side bend. They're quite different, yogis. So just notice the difference, have an intention. Either kind of turning to the right if you're choosing a single side here. It's almost like your left hand is reaching across to the outer right foot. The second option is where I turn my chest up to the left. I'm still leaning toward the right leg, and the left hand is still kind of reaching to the outer edge of the right foot, but in this kind of big side bending. All right? No rush if you're enjoying it. Let's switch sides. And I do want to remind you, yogis, I've tried to express, how we are learning to use things like stretching in our workout routines. Like say you just had a muscle strain, like an injury, you probably wouldn't really want to stretch that, right? That's kind of like I don't want to say serious injury because it's not, but it's like a tear in the muscle, right? And you're pulling that apart, and there's like almost like a little micro tear. Movement would usually be better for, a muscle injury, blood flow max, right? Just some food for thought. All right, let's get out of that straddle. And I'm gonna get you back to your tabletop here, guys. And you might want your blocks here. And the lunge. We just did our femurs, that's the big leg bones, moving apart from each other, okay? And the lunge. Right foot will go forward, and your choice here, yogis. Some days I like to keep you up higher, right? And kind of like move your pelvis a little bit. It's like a cat cow, and then kind of pausing in your cat hips. So the tuck, that's the arch. There's the tuck. You feel that hip flexor if I lean forward just a little. It's a really good one. Some days I like to go forward with the right foot more, and I kind of think this is second tier, where I'm just bringing those hips really forward and down. We just came from hamstrings, right? But if you did want to straighten your leg, this would kind of be your opportunity. Okay. Last few moments in a lunge style stretch, or what we call a femur splits. Again, you can see me, I'm kind of moving the neck a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna have you switch sides here, yogis. Shake it out in between as you need. And again, I kind of suggested to start, I like to call this like first level before we descend deep into the hips. I don't really teach this to you guys enough. This is the one where you kind of arch the back, tuck the tailbone, right? You can see all this movement I'm getting. And then I pause in the tuck. And I go forward a tiny bit against the tuck right there. We're also moving the neck a little here, connecting these stretches. And then if I wanted that second part, you go for that really big style of lunge. This is just different, yogis, because you're going to go big anterior tilt, back arch, cow hips, and that keeps your psoas stuck short, right? So, if you always do it like this, the yogi way, it's good to get up here and tuck and extend the hip. Don't forget to straighten that leg if you need, please. I'll finish that up here, yogis. And if you'd like, just sit back on the heels for a moment. And, remember we did the top of the toes. This is the top of the ankle through the shin. I'm using my body weight and pull to lengthen the top of the foot more. I make this look quite easy. It can be pretty challenging, yogis. Lift those knees up. All right, shake it out here, yogis. Our figure 4. I'm gonna do seated. You got a smaller group today. And it's a really nice one if you never do it this way. The hands are gonna go behind you, chest gonna lift, right ankle atop left knee, and then I bend my left knee. And so we do this all the time on the back. It's kind of our pigeon for today, yogis. Right foot flex. Now, notice my right knee wants to come to the body first. I actually kind of push it away. I pull the chest up toward the inner right shin. Couple deep breaths there. And I'll continue, right? I'll take this right into a twist. Left foot slides straight forward, right foot outside left knee. Inhale, left arm up and outside. That right thigh. Try to sit up a little taller here, yogis. Turn that neck to it, a couple deep breaths. Relax those shoulders a little bit lower. I like to take a big inhale and hold it. And even at that point, I might floss the neck a little. I kind of look down, left and upright. I might even point and flex my left foot here as I'm doing that. Everything is connected, yogis, and we're trying to learn to feel that more. Not to experience individual muscle groups as much as how they kind of recruit and connect to each other. I'm going to shake it out and lean back and left ankle, heel, atop right knee, seated figure 4. Again, left knee away, chest lifting. Try to actively like lift the chest up and roll the shoulders back. This is a chest opening as well. Right into a twist. These two go together. Left heel outside right knee, right arm up and across. Again, maybe turning the neck initially, maybe moving the neck a little rotationally, or even rotational up and down. You know, we do that in for your abs, let's say, which is your spine. We go down to the right, right? We'll go opposite elbow to knee, like bicycle and abs. You kind of do that exact idea. It's kind of like your chin is doing almost like a bicycle, right? You go down to the right, maybe neutralize up to the right, down to the left. Your spine moves just like your lower core, right? Your neck. Let's continue, yogis. The last part, if there's anything else you want to do seated, a little hip floss here. We did hip rotations, but you know, it's always good to kind of neutralize those big stretches. Another good one could be just kind of sitting up and touching the toes. If we didn't get to do that enough for you. All right, yogis. So I'm going to go into that restorative mode here. The restorative fish, it's so good. This is the big spinal extension. You did your Sphinx. This one's a little bit bigger, isolating the spine. But since we have a small group and it is the end of class, we can take a little bit more risk by, instead of placing the second block under our head, we actually might try to let the head go lower. Now, I'm not suggesting going from a block to the floor. You'd want to put the block on a lower setting, and then you maybe shift to a bolster, brings it an inch lower, then a blanket. So you're incrementally bringing the head lower. Eventually, the head's more on the floor. Again, the blocks under the chest is probably on a lower setting. If I want a little extra for the hips, soles of the feet together, knees wide. Again, block is under shoulder blades. Arms go wide here, yogis, because we didn't do our big chest stretch today. Couple deep breaths here. So a rather active practice, guys. So try to be a little more passive now, a little more relaxed, melting. And really use the breath a little bit more here, yogis. If you want extra, you could also reach your arms kind of to the back, beyond your ears. That does change how it's affecting the shoulders. Good to maybe do both. As a reminder that even though we did straddle the legs here, it is a different type of groin inner thigh stretch. I tend to teach straddle a little more often, but the butterfly stretch, the frog stretch, it's the horizontal bilateral abduction as opposed to the kind of where we're touching our toes, or excuse me, reaching between the legs. That tends to be a little more of a posterior stretch. This is a little bit more inner medial thigh, okay? Now, I'm just going to run you through a few restorative poses. Please take your time if you're enjoying that. You might use your hands to lift your head. You might use your hands to lift your knees together. Even putting your arms on the floor to help your body up. Could be a really good choice here, guys. And keep your blocks handy here. You're just gonna lay on the back and kind of neutralize that for a moment. Anything like full body stretching or back massaging, these basics that we do most weeks kind of in the beginning in this class. But taking it right into another supported posture, if you're ready, the restorative bridge. Okay, so we did a lot of bridges this week, yogis, so good to kind of let that sacrum get a nice push here, even a little massaging. I'm just kind of rocking side to side. From here, a few options, yogis. If you feel like you need your legs up, you can always go next to the wall. This is called assisted shoulder stand. Block under hips, keeping pelvis a little higher than heart, legs up. You could even throw your strap around your legs to hold them up there, or just kind of hold your pants. If you want a really big stretch, just bring that block a little lower. So just to be clear, first position block was, let's say, right in the sacrum. Well, if I put my legs up, block slid like an inch or two higher, upper sacrum. And if I'm gonna choose third option, block slides actually lower toward my lower sacrum tailbone. My legs would go forward, my shoulders would inch away from the block. And this is our full extended restorative bridge. Now, again, you're kind of doing your own practice here, yogis. We had to block under our ribs. We had to block under our sacrum. There's one more little part of that is where you would lower your hips down. You'd kind of, release, neutralize, massage. And, this is my last kind of suggestion of class before the closing meditation. You would take the block actually under the head. This is a way we kind of mimic plow in a gentle yoga form, where the rest of the body releases. And then I take that block right under the base of the skull, and I can stretch it here, tucking chin more. I can lightly massage. I could angle and hold the block to kind of refine how I'm using it in the massage. I'm kind of angling my block a little bit. And you just kind of let that block push into those muscles where the neck meets the skull. Okay, so 1 more minute here, or however you'd like to seal in your practice. And you finish that up and you get comfortable for your closing meditation. Remember just the difference. Usually
there's the two qualities, active meditation and passive. Depending on the day, if I'm having a more stressful or busy day, I would focus on passive meditation midday when I do it. If I'm having a good day mentally, emotionally, I might focus on active meditation midday where I'm visualizing or mantra, things like Om, or I take a few moments to speak to my body. Gratitude meditation is part of that active, shifting your emotional chemical body via intention. Things like prayer or breath work are also in active. What kind of day is it for you? Something on the more subtle plane of the self, though, right? So not physical. Something mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic. So our final goal, yogis, is to put the body in a place where you can kind of get it out of the way and go inward and work something in there. Again, passive meditation is doing very little. It's minimalist meditation, shavasana. Just relaxing everything, the body, the breath, the mind. You're just giving yourself a break. So when you're ready, please get in that position, shake it out. Whether it's active or passive meditation, the body is kind of not the focus right now, unless it's the breathing. And then you go inward, yogis, and you experience yourself inward in a different mind state, different energy. And you stay in there. Really nice job, yogis. I'm going to leave you here. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you on Tuesday, 9 a.m. for Yoga Core. Namaste, everyone.